Hi, welcome to the second part of my tip videos, and also welcome nearly 16,000 people to this channel. This is just amazing. At this rate, we'll reach 20,000 in mid-August, and this is just mind-blowing. Thank you. And if you'd like to help get there sooner, you can share the video, leave a comment, leave a like, and basically be active under them, and maybe, just maybe, we'll reach those 20,000 on my birthday, which is on July 19th. That would be awesome. Now let's get to the tips. I'll share the ones that I shared on Twitter this week, and whenever I can I will give you context and some additional information of why this tip is important and why do I even think so. And if you haven't, you can follow me on Twitter right here, and that way you'll be able to actually get those tips every single day. You don't have to wait a week or so. All of the tips that I'm sharing are coming from my own personal experience of over 22 years of designing and also over 500 different projects that we created at the company. So they're not recycled tips like everybody else is doing. Because of the NDAs on those projects, we can only go to a certain point and we'll have to stay pretty high level. But that's okay, at least you'll be able to know that these are tested in the real world, and this is something not many of these tips actually have in common. Okay, ready? Let's go. Okay, let's start with something simple. Back when iOS 7 was released and super minimalism was really a hip thing to do, a lot of people went with thin and light fonts. But the main problem with those thin and light fonts is that they are very hard to read, especially with lower contrast displays or lower resolution displays. So this is simple. To make your text more readable and more accessible, always go for regular and up. When you need to add icons to your project, there are just so many choices out there. And with that many choices and with that many free icon packs that you can use, there is a tendency to mix them together, and this is a very bad approach. Always have your icons be from one consistent set. So when you're using outline icons, use outline icons for all the icons and not have some of them filled and some of them outline. Buttons are likely the most important element in any design. That's because for someone to get paid in their app or a website, you need to push a button of some kind. And the button label is the thing that's gonna tell your users what's gonna happen when they click or tap on it. So you need enough white space on the button for the label to be clearly readable. Avoid something like the example above. If you consider X being the line height of your text, it's good to have at least the X amount of space from the top and the bottom, and also at least X from the left and right, but it's optimal to actually have double the X. This is a tip that we also shared in the free chapters of the Designing User Interfaces book that you can download right now. A few years ago, I worked on a very large government form website. It was basically a series of forms that you had to fill to access some of the government services, and it was really big. Some of the initial designs wanted the forms to be very condensed, so to fill up the space they used multi-column forms, and during user testing we found out that they simply don't work. It was actually way better to create single column forms and then simply add a little bit more steps, because people didn't mind the extra steps, but they did mind having to actually scan not only from top to bottom but also from left to right. And the only exception from this rule is possibly the credit card CVV field, but that's one of the very rare ones. So long story short, keep your forms in one column whenever you can. That government project with a lot of forms also led us to actually verify a lot of the UI tips that were floating around the internet, like the one about the required fields. Of course, what we found was that if a field is not required and is completely optional, you shouldn't even put it in the first registration at all. It's best to add it to the profile later on after the user is registered to reduce friction. And if you really need an optional field, just mark that one field as optional instead of adding a red asterisk to every other field, because it doesn't make sense. Your form is about collecting information, and a lot of that information is of course mandatory, so it's just best to mark those little few optional ones instead of marking every single field. Seeing red markings in a form is actually gonna slow down the processing, so the user will go through the form a little bit slower. And that's it for today. Which one did you like the most? Let me know in the comments below, and as usual, thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Cheers, have a great day.